I was at a wedding last weekend.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it was beautiful, great setup, amazing food, the whole 9 yards. But there was this one moment where I looked around the room and I realized something had really shifted.
Shifted how?
Well, you know how for decades the visual center of a wedding was usually the couple themselves,
Huh?
or maybe the cake, or like a giant floral arch?
Right, the traditional focal points everyone expects to see.
Exactly. But at this one, and honestly at the last three I've been to this year, the thing that everyone was actually staring at.
Let me guess.
Yeah, the thing pulling people in like moths was a sign. A bright, buzzing neon sign hanging right behind the head table.
They really are everywhere right now.
It said "better together" in this hot pink cursive. And it just got me thinking, when did we decide that the absolute best way to say "I love you" is with 12 volts of electricity?
It is hard to miss, isn't it? I mean, it's basically become the dominant aesthetic of the modern wedding.
It really is everywhere. And my first instinct, being the cynic I am, was to completely dismiss it.
Just another trend.
Right. I thought, okay, this is just for Instagram. It's just a photo trap for the guests. But then we got this stack of research for today's deep dive.
The brief on declarations in light.
Yes, declarations in light. And I started reading about the actual psychology behind this stuff. And I have to admit, I might have been a little quick to judge.
I think most people are, honestly.
Yeah.
It's really easy to write it off as just another wedding fad.
Like mason jars were 10 years ago.
Exactly. Or burlap table runners. But when you dig into the actual function of these neon signs, you find out they aren't just decorations. They are doing some surprisingly heavy lifting psychologically.
So that's our mission today for you listening. We are going to figure out why we are suddenly so obsessed with writing our names in lights.
It's a fascinating shift.
We're going to look at the history, which is apparently way older than electricity itself, then the psychology of why glowing text sticks in our brains.
And then the really weird part?
Yeah. Right, the weirdest part. What happens to these signs when the party is actually over? How they move from a one-day event into everyday life.
Which is the part that I think is the most interesting, the afterlife of the object, so to speak.
We will definitely get there. But let's start with the skeptic's view. Because I look at these neon signs and I see a Pinterest board come to life.
Sure.
You're telling me there is something ancient happening here? Because last I checked, ancient Romans didn't have LED flex tubing.
They didn't have the tubing, no, but they absolutely had the impulse.
Okay.
If you strip away the modern technology, what is a wedding? Fundamentally, it's a public declaration.
Right, a legal and social thing.
Exactly. You are standing in front of your tribe, your community, and you're saying, this person and I are a unit now. And for a declaration to be valid, historically, it requires visibility.
Meaning people have to literally see it happen.
Yes. And for thousands of years, humans have used light to validate and mark that declaration.
You mean like unity candles?
Older than that. Think about fire.
Yes.
Think about the hearth.
Okay. In ancient Greece, the goddess Hestia represented the hearth fire. A new home wasn't even considered a home until that fire was lit.
Wow, so the fire was the proof.
It was the visual proof of presence. If the fire was burning, the family was there. It represented safety, gathering, beginnings, and life.
Okay, so fire equals life and hope. I get that. But that's survival, right? A neon sign saying Mr. and Mrs. feels a bit more, I don't know, vanity.
Is it, though? Or is it just the modern version of that exact same hearth?
Ah.
The source material argues that when a couple hangs that light today, they are actually unconsciously participating in this ancient symbolic tradition. They are creating a focal point.
By casting away the darkness?
Literally and metaphorically. We aren't lighting giant bonfires in the middle of a hotel ballroom because of fire codes, obviously.
Right, venues tend to hate open flames.
They really do. So we use the next best thing. We use high lumen light sources to say, look here, this is real, we are present.
That is such an interesting pivot. The medium has changed from beeswax or timber to neon gas or LEDs, but that psychological drive, it's identical. We desperately want our commitment to be visible.
So you're saying the neon sign is basically just a tech-enabled campfire?
In a way, yes. It draws people in. If you watch the guests at a modern wedding, where do they actually congregate?
Well, usually near the open bar, let's be honest.
Fair point. The bar is popular, but visually, where do they gather for photos?
Around the light.
They gather around the light. It completely anchors the room. And that brings us to the second layer of this deep dive, which is the text itself.
Right, because unlike a campfire, these signs actually speak. They have words.
They do, and the words are usually pretty specific.
Yeah, the source listed the big ones. Things like better together or forever starts now.
Mr. and Mrs. is a big one.
The Smiths or to the moon and back.
Pretty standard phrases, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not seeing a lot of avant-garde poetry on these things. It's usually the greatest hits of romance.
But that is entirely by design. And this is where the psychology formula from the research comes in. Language plus light.
Equals imprint.
Exactly. Have you ever heard of the von Restorff effect?
The von Ristorff effect. Sounds like a Bond villain.
It does. But it's actually a concept in psychology, also known as the isolation effect.
Okay, what does it do?
It basically predicts that an item that stands out like a sore thumb is far more likely to be remembered than other standard items.
Makes sense.
When you enter a reception room, your brain is actively filtering out millions of data points. The color of the tablecloths, the pattern on the carpet, the background shatter.
Just sensory overload.
Right. But a glowing, high-contrast light source, that completely bypasses the filter.
So the brain literally can't ignore it.
It can't. It forces a distinct event memory to form. If you wrote better together on a piece of cardboard with a Sharpie, nobody would remember it 5 minutes later.
No, they'd probably throw it away.
But when it's glowing in warm white or pink light right above the couple, it imprints.
Language plus light equals imprint. I really like how the source phrased that.
It transforms the phrase from just simple words into a shared narrative for everyone in the room.
Because before the wedding, the relationship is private.
Exactly. It's inside jokes, it's quiet moments at home. But the wedding day turns that private relationship into a public story. And the neon sign basically acts as the headline for that story.
It frames the entire event.
Literally and figuratively. And speaking of framing, we have to talk about what the research calls memory architecture.
Memory architecture. You're making wedding planning sound like urban engineering now.
Well, it is engineering in a sense. It's emotional engineering. Weddings are incredibly carefully designed experiences.
Right. The music, the seating chart, the lighting.
The source talks about how these signs serve as visual anchors within that emotional architecture. Think about the wedding photographer for a second.
The person running around sweating, trying to make everyone look good.
Right. They need composition. They need a solid background. A glowing sign provides a ready-made frame for them.
It creates a literal frame around the couple.
It gives instant context to all those candid shots.
Yeah.
20 years from now, when you look at that photo of you laughing with your cousin and that glowing The Smiths is right there in the background.
You aren't just seeing a party.
No, you are seeing the explicit context of the commitment. The sign practically labels the memory for you.
That makes a ton of sense. It's like a caption that you don't even have to write because it's physically glowing in the room.
Exactly.
But I do want to push back on something here.
Go for it.
We're talking about this like it's this deep spiritual psychological necessity. But isn't a huge part of this just technology?
How do you mean?
Like, neon signs used to be these fragile, buzzing glass tubes filled with actual gas. They exploded if you looked at them wrong.
Very true.
You couldn't just casually ship a custom glass neon sign to a bride in Ohio for a weekend party.
That is a crucial point, and the research touches on this.
Yeah.
The neon we see at weddings today isn't usually traditional glass neon at all.
Right, it's LED, isn't it?
Mostly, yes. It's LED flex.
Okay.
It's a silicone tubing that perfectly mimics the look of traditional neon, but it's incredibly durable. It doesn't get hot to the touch, and it doesn't require a massive high-voltage transformer.
The kind that hums like an old refrigerator.
Exactly. Which is key, because if you're sitting at the sweetheart table trying to listen to your best man give a toast, you do not want a loud electrical buzzing sound in your ear.
Yeah, that would ruin the romance pretty fast.
So this technological shift, moving from fragile glass to durable LED, is actually what democratized the ritual.
It made it accessible.
10 years ago, commissioning a custom glass neon sign would have cost an absolute fortune, and you'd need professional installation. Right. Now you have services like heartneon.com, which was mentioned heavily in the deep dive material.
Mm-hmm.
Couples can just go online, type in a phrase, pick a cursive font, and have it shipped in a cardboard box.
So the tech is really what enabled the trend to explode.
The tech removed the friction. It made it possible for everyday people to access this cinematic aesthetic.
Cinematic, that was another key term from the research.
Yes.
Let's talk about that, because there is a very fine line, isn't there, between cinematic and, well, tacky.
A very fine line. You want the wedding to feel heightened. You want it to feel like a movie version of your life.
Right, you want the magic.
Warm light, a soft glow, It makes everyone's skin look better. It creates this beautiful intimacy. But if the sign is too harsh, or the color is just too garish.
It feels like a beer sign in a dive bar.
Exactly. Which is a vibe, certainly.
But maybe not the vibe for a wedding.
Not for most weddings, no.
Yeah.
The success of these signs relies entirely on them providing that campfire warmth I mentioned earlier.
It's about ambient emotion.
Yes. It's lighting the room with a feeling, not just raw lumens.
Okay, so we've got the history of the hearth, the psychology of the imprint, and the LED tech that made it all possible.
The whole picture.
But here is the part of the deep dive that actually surprised me the most. And this is where I think the real story is for you listening.
The transition.
The transition. Because eventually the DJ plays the last song, the house lights come up, the cleanup crew comes in with the trash bags.
The magic fades.
Right, the flowers. They're basically trash. The cake is eaten, the dress gets boxed up and shoved in a closet. But the sign.
The sign is a durable good.
You don't just throw away a custom LED sign.
No, you take it home. And this represents a radical shift in how we interact with wedding decor.
Radical how?
Well, think about the geography of it.
Yeah.
You are taking a prop from a sacred one-day event, basically the altar,
Yeah.
and you are dragging it directly into your domestic reality.
Mm-hmm.
Couples are hanging these signs in their living rooms or above the bed.
Or in the home office.
Yes.
The source mentioned people putting them in their Zoom backgrounds, which I honestly think is hilarious.
It is pretty funny.
Sorry I'm late to the budget meeting, guys. Just wanted to remind you that Forever starts now.
It's funny, but it's also genuinely profound. The sign becomes a physical bridge. It connects the fantasy of the wedding day with the everyday reality of the marriage.
This was a moment, and this is a continuation. That was the exact quote from the source that really stuck with me.
It's a powerful idea
Yeah.
because most wedding stuff is ephemeral. It is meant to die. Flowers wilt by design.
Right.
But the neon sign serves as a modern totem. It's a permanent, glowing reminder of the promise you made in front of your tribe.
Okay, but let me play devil's advocate here for a second.
Oh, please do.
Does that actually work in practice? Or does it just eventually become wallpaper?
The wallpaper effect.
Yeah, you know how if you leave a sticky note on your computer monitor for too long, your brain just stops seeing it?
That is the risk. The invisibility of the everyday.
Exactly.
But light is fundamentally different than a paper sticky note. Light requires interaction. You have to actively turn it on.
That's true. It's an active object, not a passive one.
Even if you only turn it on when you have dinner guests over, or on your anniversary, or just when you're feeling a certain way,
Right.
the physical act of illuminating it is a mini ritual. You are reactivating the memory. You're flooding your living room with the exact same color of light that washed over you when you said your vows.
Wow.
That triggers a sensory recall that flipping through a photo album on your phone just cannot match.
It's ambient commitment.
Precisely. It's a way of maintaining the narrative over time because relationships are hard work.
Oh, absolutely.
They are full of mundane, boring stuff. Doing the dishes, paying the bills, having petty arguments.
The daily grind.
Having a glowing declaration in your house acts as a visual counterweight to all that drudgery. It silently says, remember, we are the people who promised to go to the moon and back.
Even if right now we're just going to the grocery store to buy milk.
Exactly. It grounds the couple in their shared, idealized identity.
But there is a pretty big design challenge here, isn't there?
How so?
Because a sign that looks absolutely amazing in a dim, cavernous ballroom might look completely ridiculous in a one-bedroom apartment.
That is definitely the friction point. And we are actually seeing a shift in consumer behavior there, too.
Oh, really?
The source material notes that couples are getting much smarter about this phase. They're realizing during the planning process, wait, I actually have to live with this object.
So maybe they aren't getting Mr. and Mrs. Johnson in giant 3-foot letters anymore.
Some still do, sure.
Yeah.
But we are seeing a huge rise in more abstract phrases. Or maybe song lyrics that mean something specific to them.
That's cool.
Or even just cool geometric shapes, things that function as legit art pieces first and wedding props second.
Right, something that actually fits their home decor.
Exactly. The source mentioned that Hearth9.com actually has entire categories specifically for this, designs that are explicitly meant to transition seamlessly from the event space to home decor.
That makes total sense, because if I'm buying art, I want it to look good above my couch, not just hanging behind a wedding cake for 4 hours.
And that totally influences the color choices too. Hot pink might be super fun for the dance floor.
But maybe warm white is a lot easier to live with while you're watching TV on a Tuesday night.
Exactly.
It's really interesting how this whole trend forces couples to think about their actual marriage during the wedding planning.
It does.
It's like they have to ask, what is the slogan of our life? Not just what is the slogan of this party.
It forces a much longer-term perspective. It asks, what is the truth we want to be reminded of every single day?
I really like that. What is the truth we want to be reminded of? It takes it completely out of the realm of vanity and pushes it into the realm of, I don't know, mental health or relationship maintenance.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we are visual creatures. We are environmental creatures. We constantly react to the spaces we inhabit.
Right.
If your daily space contains a bright, glowing symbol of love and hope, that naturally affects your mood. It affects the whole atmosphere of the home.
It's basically modern feng shui with a power cord.
That is a perfect way to put it. In a nutshell, yes.
So we've gone from ancient Greek hearth fires to modern LED flex tubing, from the psychology of human attention to the sociology of interior design.
It covers a lot of ground.
It really is a lot more than just a pretty backdrop for a selfie.
It usually is. We tend to dismiss these aesthetic trends as shallow or frivolous, but usually if something really sticks, if it becomes this ubiquitous across the culture, it's because it's answering a deeper human need.
The need to declare something.
The need to make the invisible visible. Love is an entirely abstract concept. A neon sign is incredibly concrete
And bright.
and very, very bright.
So for you listeners out there, maybe you're planning a wedding right now, or maybe you're just looking at an empty wall in your office and thinking it needs some life.
That's a great option.
We mentioned the source material came partly from looking at the design trends on heartneon.com, which seems to be a major hub for this kind of custom work.
Definitely worth a look.
It's worth checking out just to see the sheer creativity. It's not just last names anymore. People are doing some really wild stuff.
I actually saw one in the research that was just the minimalist outline of a mountain range. Very subtle, very clean.
See, that I could do. I don't know if I need my own name in lights in my living room, but a mountain range, I'm completely in.
It's just about finding the symbol that resonates specifically with you.
Before we wrap up today, I want to leave everyone with a final thought to mull over.
Okay.
We talked heavily about how these signs move from the high energy of the wedding day into the quiet routine of daily life. And we asked if the sign just becomes invisible.
The wallpaper effect we discussed.
Right, but I wonder, does the physical maintenance of the sign mirror the maintenance of the relationship itself?
Oh, that's an interesting angle.
Because, sometimes a section of the LED flickers. Or maybe the dimmer switch breaks after a couple of years. Or sometimes you just get busy and forget to turn it on for a whole month.
Life gets in the way.
Exactly. And when that happens, you have to make a conscious choice to fix it, to replace the switch, or to remember to turn it back on.
So the physical state of the symbol is reflecting the state of the union.
Exactly. If you have this symbol in your home, it's almost like a relationship barometer. If the light had been broken or switched off for 6 months.
Maybe that's a sign to check in on the actual relationship.
Right. Just a provocative thought to chew on the next time you see that warm glow in someone's living room window.
It might be a lot more than just trendy decor.
It might be a status report.
Always look for the meaning behind the medium.
Great advice. Thanks for diving deep with us today. We'll see you next time. Stay curious.